Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of HnK Video Game Experience. As always, this is Clearfire with Hollywood here, HolliwoodKole, and we actually have two guests tonight to talk about EverQuest. Our first guest, usual guest here, is CoachRX, and we actually have a new guest here. Her screen name is actually EdgiestThunder. So, Edgy, we'd like to welcome you to the podcast, and just speak real quick a little bit about your name and the games you play and stuff you enjoy.
Hey guys, first of all, I just want to thank y'all for having me on. It's a real honor to be invited. I love what you guys are doing on the podcast, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. But yeah, EverQuest was my first real gaming experience, I guess. I started 2001. The game was about 2 years old at the time, and I was 11 years old at the time. So that was my first computer gaming experience, but also grew up with two older brothers, so playing console games with them. We played a lot of sports games, 007, a lot of car racing games and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess my kind of gaming history, it's been a big part of my childhood and all of my adult life. So, pretty wide variety of games that I've played. But
how'd you hear about EverQuest and what drew you to it?
So I actually learned of the game from my stepfather at the time. He played for like a couple of years, but he introduced me to the game. He played a wizard on EverQuest, and he got me into it, and I was just hooked right away. Like, started playing one night, freaked out the first time I died, like ran downstairs, had to come get him to help me figure out what to do. But yeah, just definitely got hooked on it and started playing it, and have played on and off ever since. But yeah, I definitely loved it. It was definitely revolutionary for its time, because it was the high tech thing back then. I know it's not so much anymore, but, I just thought it was awesome. So enjoyed playing it, enjoyed the community and everything.
And for all you listeners out there too, Edgy does do some streams of EverQuest. So once this podcast hits and drops, we'll post links to her stream, and also she archives it out to YouTube. So we'll actually have links to all that, so you can go see her videos, check all that out. Give her a listen, give her a follow, check her out. She's got some good content as well. So make sure you pass that around and get that around, but we'll get that on our Facebook page for you as well. So everybody else, how's it going? How's it going, Hollywood? I know I've been chatting with you for a little bit and all that.
It's going good, man. I just recently picked up Monster Hunter and some. My wife just looked in the window. I don't know. I thought she was going to come in here, so saw me out a little bit. Monster Hunter, and I actually picked up two Wii U games that were used for my son. Bayonetta. It was like $11. I was like, sweet, perfect. It's in a box, good condition. It was at GameStop. Everything's at GameStop, and the Super, what's it called? Paper Mario Color Splash. Me and my son play that. It's actually pretty fun. It's a little Mario RPG. And then I reserved the Secret of Mana, which I never reserved. And I didn't even think about that. And I see that you have yours there. You didn't. We switched roles there. I didn't reserve mine, and you reserved yours. But I'm interested to see how limited it actually is. And somebody, Nick Themianos, left a comment for us on he's a friend of mine, but he left a comment on us for us on HnK, talking about how it's not getting good reviews. And I haven't seen any of the reviews, but it's on the SNES Mini, Secret of Mana is, and you go back and play it, and it is kind of basic, man. I mean, it is really basic. I mean, which is to be expected, but I think even back then, I mean, that was kind of the closest to real-time, real-time swinging and swords and all that instead of doing turn-based. And plus, you could play 2 or 3 players like it was some kind of revolutionary thing. And that's why they included them as an SNES Mini, I guarantee you, because it had 2 players.
Well, and it's a beginner RPG as well, too. So
right. So how's that going to translate over to today's people that are used to Dragon Hunter and, Shadows of Mordor and Dark Souls and all this real complex thing, and all you're really doing is the best attack you can do with your sword is to charge it up like 1 or 2 swings. I mean... But, I think it's going to play on the nostalgia factor for a lot of old school gamers. And I hope it does good, because maybe this will be like a common thing. Yeah. Maybe they'll remake Final Fantasy 6.
Well, to the whole aspect of limited release, my GameStop over here that's about 5 or 10 minutes away from my house. They actually only have one more copy of this game left.
Oh, that's good.
And from what he's telling me is they don't get any more after this. They said that this is all we're sending you. They only sent them, I think, 5 copies above what was pre-reserved. So it is a limited release as far as disc is. Now, you can go and buy digital copies of it all day long, but the disc version is the limited release part of it.
Okay.
So
I'm kind of spoiled by technology. I haven't bought a physical game in like years. If my hard drive were to crash, I'd just have nothing.
Yeah, that's like Comcast when you get to buy. You want to buy this new release of American Made? Like, no. What if I don't got Comcast in a year? I won't ever watch it again.
Yeah.
Why would I do that? But I can buy a hard copy.
They're about to start peddling Justice League, like the pre-DVD release. You can download it for $30. Yep. They do it every time a new movie comes out.
So, Coach, what's been going on in your world? I mean, I know we've gotten to play a little Monster Hunter together lately, but what else you been doing?
Yeah, they're just that and work, and now that hunting season ended at the end of January, I'm kind of in
You're
limbo.
hunting virtual monsters now.
Yeah, that's what drew him to it. He just sits off in the tree somewhere and waits. You got to get in the game, man.
Well, that is a funny thing you mentioned that, because of one of my friends that pitched EverQuest to me that got me playing it. He would like call me up and say, you want to go hunting, and he related it to you're sitting in a tree waiting for
EverQuest
something to come out. Yeah.
You get an upgraded 270 instead of a 243.
At least on EverQuest, the spawn time.
Right.
Imagine if you knew a deer spawned at 5 p.m.
Yeah, they do spawn out in the field too. They don't walk out. You don't ever see one walk out. Like you said back in the day, your first paw comes break through the woods and just start walking out. Oh, there he is. Then a couple of them just spawned out.
Yeah, it got so. Well, I say bad, but I was so into EverQuest when I was in college that there was an old quest. It was called the Eye Patch of Plunder. Yep. The stats are so bad now that nobody would use it, but there was a camp in Villiers. It was called Storm Feather. And every 18 hours, there was a chance it would spawn. So it wasn't necessarily even
it's like 18 hours plus or minus 36
Yeah.
hours or something like that.
And if somebody's there, you got to leave.
It was awful, but I would set my alarm clock to wake up in the middle of the night and check that spawn.
You used to have to have your computer on in the bazaar all night. That was so much fun. And just have you guys sit there.
That's what's my played on EverQuest is something like 4 years, which if I was actually playing, that would be ridiculous. But before they had the offline vendor, my character was pretty much online all the time.
True. What do they expect you to just sit there and look at the screen? No, people are going to leave. They'll leave their guy there. And somebody post up over the top of your character, making it hard for somebody to click you. Mm-hmm. And you got to move. Yeah. But the reason I asked about the EverQuest, why you started playing, because it's just kind of funny. And Mitchell kind of get a kick out of this too. The reason I played, I think Tripp turned me on to it, or something. No, I think you turned me on to it, Mitch. And just kind of, we always play the RPGs, and if you listen to the show at all, you know that me and Clear have always played these RPGs. And so the idea of having, of course you think you're good at them. There's nothing, it's all relative. There's no way to judge how good somebody else is at it at that point in time, early 90s and stuff. But and when EverQuest came out, you automatically think, I'm going to make this killer warrior or this killer rogue or whatever, and I'm going to trick him out. That's like the first time you really started trying to deck your character out with, some mystical. I think my guy had some white eyes or whatever, all the way through type of deal. But the Dark Elf, that was actually my third character, Loki was. But you think you're going to stand out, somehow. And you're not. It's like life. You think you got this handle on it. No, I'm going to go do all this, and everybody's going to want the my rogue and this, and it's like, no, man, there's some million.
Well, that was the first game that maybe you are a standout in your class, we need this tank for this battle, or this rogue has more DPS, but you can't do anything by yourself. You have to have other people.
You forget, back.
That was my first.
Back then, we didn't know what the class. We didn't know what DPS, tank, healer. You always have 3 DPS, a tank, and a healer. We didn't know that. I just thought a rogue. It's more like, I don't know. I guess it's more RPG-ish or something. I thought it was more role playing, and you just kind of run around. And I guess I thought you could do more. But I mean, it was amazing just to go sit with the group. You call out wherever you are. Hey, rogue, looking for a group, just to grind out. For hours, sitting in this one zone somewhere, and then you just move to the next zone. But that was so much fun back in the day. Planes of Power.
Classes were so well defined back then. Like, unless you're doing bottom feeding in an old zone, a rogue can't tank, and a warrior's DPS is so weak that it's not even worth the spot in the group. And now everything's so diluted down. Pretty much they've got every class being mediocre at everything.
Now everything is really defined by what I talked about a little bit earlier, alternate abilities. So for people that don't know what those are, imagine like in say a console action RPG, the skill tree. Imagine the most complicated skill tree you could ever imagine, put it on steroids, and then have it not have any like graphics to it. So it's just basically you have this list of skills for every single class. There's, I don't know how many dozens of different skills that you can have. And there's even more of them now. The game has grown a lot in the different abilities you can have. And every class is really defined by those. You have your spells, and those become really important, but it's those alternate abilities. There's both active and passive alternate abilities that you can have that define the way you play and how you play your class. So, you can have a level 110, let's say a shaman, 2 level 110 shamans, one without many alternate abilities and one that's maxed out. They are 2 totally different players, and it all comes down to how much knowledge they have about those abilities and how they optimize those. So that's where the depth in the class system comes in. So you were mentioning earlier that, you had your tank, you had your healer, and you had your DPS, but now there's a DPS, and you have hybrids, and you need your slowers and your crowd control and all that stuff. It's all pretty necessary, especially in raids. You want to have a really good balance of all those classes. So there's a lot of strategy in that.
All right, guys.
Crazy. Real quick, I got something to say about the 8 alternate abilities. Right. I mean, because it is our alternate advancement. Because that was, like you said, in 91, or I don't know when 99, or whenever the game came out. And that truly lets you fine-tune your character, just like you said. And it just blows my mind.
Came out in Luckland.
It just blows my mind that no other game has really implemented that system, No, that's like one of the first ones, and it lets you really customize your playstyle and set you apart.
Right.
I think where it came from was the designers saw that when people reached max level and they couldn't increase the power of their character, they would start to burn out.
So it's kind of an accidental end game.
AAs were always something you never could quite max out before the next expansion.
Yeah, but you can start getting them before you max level.
Yeah, you can.
That's what was so cool about it. I mean, it's a great system, and you could put 80% of your experience to AA and 20% to your actual experience bar, or vice versa. I mean, that was awesome about the game. I like that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm gonna
try to slow y'all down a little bit before we get too deep in this. I want to get some news going first, and then start asking y'all some questions, since
you got 3 EverQuest players here.
I know. You got 3 EverQuest players, and y'all are rolling hardcore, and it's great. But I want to be able to ask some questions and get in here a little bit, so people at least know I'm sitting here.
Right
on. So first, I do want to point out, we mentioned earlier Monster Hunter World. It's a game that I've dove head first into. I've got over 40 hours in it. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's only been out about 3 weeks, and for me, 40 hours in 3 weeks, that's a lot of time to a game. But within 2 weeks, it actually sold 6 million copies. That's the best sales ever for a Capcom game ever. So that's a big deal there. I just want to pass that around. And then also, too, another bit of news for a game that Hollywood plays, and he even, I think he made a comment on the post that I posted about a guy in Call of Duty hit max player rank without firing a single shot. You know, from what I know of Call of Duty, it's a tough game to hit max rank, let alone doing it without firing a shot. And
what did he do? Use daggers?
He used daggers. That's all he did was use daggers and stealth attacks and whatever else that he had without firing bullets.
He got it recorded or something?
I'm not sure exactly. I read the article, but I mean, I was just like, my gosh, how in the world did you do it? Because I know you've got to hit like a certain rank to start doing prestige, and then you've got prestige above that, and then you hit max rank.
There's like 10 prestige levels, and they're all 55 levels each.
Yeah, so he did it without firing a shot.
And then after you get to the max prestige, I think you still got to get to like level 1,000, which is pretty much doing it all over again.
Yep, pretty much.
It's ridiculous.
That's a lot of time.
So he did that, and I thought that was pretty awesome. Guy. Yeah, but I just want to give that player. I don't remember his name. I just want to give him that shout out and give him that props that we can, because that's pretty impressive there. As us all being gamers, dropping that much time in a game, that's just crazy. And then of course too, well, we've already mentioned this several times, but I'm gonna mention it again. Secret of Mana dropped today. It's a game from mine and Hollywood's history, from where we played back in the day. We played this game together back in the day a long time ago, so I want to mention it because it's got nostalgia factor. And if you're able to pick up a hard copy, pick it up, because the hard copy is a limited release. You can digitally download it, but the hard copy itself is a limited edition. So go check it out and go pick it up.
If anybody's listening to this and they're like 20 years or younger, I'd be interested to see, do they even care, about Secret of Mana? I want to hear
93.
If somebody actually cares about it, or if it's just all people that played it on the SNES.
That was 93.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I recognize the name. Another of those Square Enix
Squaresoft back then. Anytime that Squaresoft came out, I was all over it.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting that I noticed it, but Monster Hunter being a Capcom game, that's the entire Street Fighter franchise.
It is.
And to outsell them, that's
well. What's cool is also to speak of that, in Monster Hunter World, you're actually going to be able to play as Ryu very soon. If you already have a Street Fighter V save on your PS4, you can go earn the quest. It's a Hunter Rank 3 quest. It's really easy to get. You just have to get the parts to craft it. Basically, it's armor. You have to have the entire set. Once you put it on, you look just like Ryu. And you can do stuff like that. Cool. So it's kind of cool. It's pretty neat. There's some commercials of it and everything. It looks pretty cool. And so go check it out.
Hadouken in Mega Man X, So I wonder if they had a Hadouken off in Monster Hunter to just kill a monster with one hit.
Speaking to that, too, is there is going to be an 8-bit set of armor for your Palico that makes it look like a Mega Man. Makes it look like Mega Man 8-bit style.
I like what they're doing.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
It's interesting that their brand loyalty, I guess you'd call
it. And another kicker to all that, it's all free.
Well, here's what it said to me today. Actually, it was killing the Bareth before. That's what took me a little bit longer to get on, I guess. But I finished an investigation, and it asked me, it said, to give me one of the awards, it said you have to have a Street Fighter V save file. Seriously. Yes. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's Capcom.
Yeah.
That kind of
all random games.
No.
My Street Fighter's on Xbox.
Go rent it. Go rent it from Redbox. You can rent it from Redbox for $1. Go rent it from Redbox and then put it in there, make a save real quick, and then there you go.
You got to send in a proof of purchase from Xbox.
And I think it runs through. I think it runs for about a week or so that this micro event runs. Now, granted, in the future, I think within a month they'll have it to where you can get it without having a save. But they're doing an early release for the people on PS4 only. Monster Hunter. It's another exclusive to PS4. So that's where. Once again, like we were talking about last week with the exclusives, there are week before last. So that's that whole exclusive thing going on again. So, but that's all the news I have for us tonight. So let's go ahead and jump back into EverQuest. I'm sorry for breaking y'all up on that. I didn't want to get too far deep in it. And y'all
news
had a great
is important. That's okay.
But we got to squeeze that news in a little bit so people have a little bit of everything in the podcast for us. So. My first thing I want to drop and I want to ask y'all is, and some of y'all have touched this and everything, but what was your big draw to wanting to play EverQuest? Because for me, I tried to play it and I couldn't get into it. But what really just sucked you in? What piece of EverQuest really just sucked you into the game?
Well, I got to say this about you, Clear. I remember I got you at least wanting to play it. You came over to my house, and I was showing you the character creation screen. And it was like I was saying earlier, it makes it seem like it was so specialized. Like nobody knows what Calanthus, I can't remember what his face looked like, what color eyes his character had or nothing like that. But when you create your character, you think everybody's going to see it and all this, and really take some detail in there. But I guess it is just for you. But after I showed you that, you were like, yeah. I remember the last thing you said was like, yep, I'm going to get it now. Right, where I was talking about I had my druid, Elduin or something like that.
Well, in the beginning, everybody just looked very generic. They redid the models in the Luckland expansion, and you actually looked more like a modern cartoon, a modern video game character. But in the beginning, you were just an amalgamation. It was just, and everybody played in first person, so you never saw yourself anyway. So we just kind of let it slide. The erudites had enormous foreheads. It was just,
yeah.
And I think they still do, but they're not, 8-bit looking. But what drew me in was watching my friends play. We all played Magic and Dungeons and Dragons and Vampire. We just had a little group that did everything, gaming together. And they started playing EverQuest, and I would just go by their house, and I'd see them running down the beach, and the first person, and they were casters, and I guess they were kiting. Now that I know, the terminology and what was going on, but at the time, to me, it seemed enormous. Other than the occasional having to zone, it was just open world. You could do whatever you want to, and this was still in a pretty, side-scrolling game, 98. There was a few, exceptions, but this, it was all overhead, top-down, like Dragon Warrior when you got out in the open world. And this was just revolutionary, and I finally jumped in.
Well, you told me about it, and sorry, I just got to say this real quick for Mitch. You told me about, I remember it now when you're talking, it just came to me, at Jones. And you were telling me about Trip had the wizard because the erudite, and you were a warrior, and the possibilities are endless in your mind. And you were like, Trip has a spell that'll kill me in one hit, And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, that's like to have that kind of power walking around in this imaginary game. But you don't know about, you got a duel and this kind of deal.
Well, there was always the duel. I never got into that PvP culture.
Yeah.
But it's there. But you had to say /duel unless you were on a PvP server.
I played one PvP and got in there, and I was at the very beginners. They can't mess with you. Or at least when I was playing, if you're 10 or under. And one dude was just, his whole life on EverQuest was just to run from this mob of people that would just kill him and he'd just spawn, and I could just see him shouting for help and all this. And every time I'd get on, it seems like this dude's just getting mobbed. And I was like, dude, I don't want to get above 10. This is not very fun.
Well, there's always that griefer game culture, the people who, they just seem to get out of making other people miserable. And EverQuest is one of the first, because you have to be online to do it. You can't grief somebody sitting beside them on the couch.
Yeah, and, they swing on you for real.
It was one of the first.
Safer online.
I played EverQuest on dial-up until 2004. Even when I was at Ole Miss, I had AOL dial-up in my apartment. That was when I got my first cell phone. But EverQuest is, I guess you would call it MMO RPG. Right. The first game where everybody playing the game is there together. And, talking about griefing, they're always the people that would pull the trains on you and stuff. Anytime there's that many people together, there's going to be some a-hole,
There's always that guy.
They'll figure out, even rogues, they would just get aggro and run into your camp and hit escape. And they're just, unless unless there was something that could see in vias, they would just
After I'll let Edgy go into her deal, and then I want to tell you
start ducking over your court.
I got to tell you about a funny rogue story after this.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just the sense of immersion you have in the game. You're in this world, and I had no idea starting out how massive it really is, and I'll put it to scale right now. I think the size of the game is 300 square miles, and we can talk more about that later. And in comparison to other games, that's still it's bigger than most games out there still. But getting in there, you're in this world. And I remember the first time seeing a player run by me, I had to ask, like, was that a real person? And just that sense that you're you are your character and you're in this game. It has day and night. It has weather. It has an economy. It has, trading. And like, it completely immerses you, in this world. And it gets bigger every time you level up and go into a new zone to adventure. So that's really what sucked me in. And then, of course, the community, when you finally join a guild and you start interacting with other people and they're helping you and you get to where you can help other people. I think that was a really, really cool aspect of it, too, that drew me in. So, yeah, like I said, it was just really big for its time, and it's changed a lot, but it's still, I think it still harnesses some of those features still today.
To your point, talking about the zones and how big it is, EverQuest was also unique in that you could go anywhere as long as you could live. If you didn't get killed, you could run from your starting city to the end game when it started. Like I think the Vox, the Red Dragon, and Nagafin, the Red Dragon, were the be all end all, and if you could survive, you could run from your starting city to their feet, and of course they'd kill you then. But none of the zones were level locked, progression locked. It used to just be just like the real world, I guess. Anywhere you could get to.
Claire, do you remember playing it starting off at Freeport, the little town, walking out?
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. I remember running around doing a little bit there. And I remember the first time I ventured out of the city, I was walking. I'm trying to keep it from, because what I did, I got a chance to beta test EverQuest Online Adventures that was for the PlayStation 2. So I have a lot of that in my head still too. Before I remember getting out of the city on EverQuest, that first city that you're in, and then somebody kills me, and so I didn't know that could happen, and I'm just like, what the what? I'm freaking out because I'm like, this isn't
so
cool.
Unforgiving.
So
you remember you had to kill like rats.
Unforgiving.
Yeah, I remember killing the rats,
snakes, and bats.
So I remember you were in East Commons or West Commons, whichever one it was, and there's like a blue wolf running around slaying folks. Do you remember that thing attacking you?
I can't say that I do remember it. I'm just trying to.
That was me. I had my druid, and I turned into wolf form and kept jumping at his neck. And he would sit there and turn around and figure it out. And then he finally just ran back to town. And he just kept
That's
chasing
pretty funny.
It. I swear I was hoping you would say that. Oh, I remember this wolf just attacked me. I didn't know what to do.
What's funny about the guard thing is that, talking about level 1, you're pretty much thrown into the world. If you were Ixars, I know they were the new lizard man race from Cunard. They were instantly KOS to everything human. Like, if you make your character and you leave, all guards will kill you. But I did a hero bracer quest on my warrior. It made you had to get like max faction with the guards in Calethin. But by doing that, it also made the guards in Freeport hate you. So my entire EverQuest experience involved me not going to Freeport until they made it to where you could fix your faction. But God, it was so deep, like so many. I feel like I'm obligated to continue to play because I've devoted so much of my brain power to, this system.
This really is
it's almost like learning a foreign language.
Crazy design like that, because you don't want to quit because you've already dedicated so much time to it. That's the draw. It's like an addiction. You got to dedicate a lot of time to it, and you start getting addicted to it as you're powering your character up. And then I don't want to quit because I've already spent so much time that I just wasted all that time. I don't want to waste any more time, but I don't want to waste the time I've already wasted. You know, I mean, it really is like that.
So let me ask y'all this question, you know, because y'all are talking about lore and everything in your characters, and I know a lot of y'all have basically had one character through a lot of this story progression. Like, what lore drew you to want to make that character that you have? Because I know Hollywood, you had Druid. Coach, you've got a warrior tank type of character, and Edgy, I don't know which one you have because we haven't discussed that much, but what drew you to make you want to do that character? That I think that would be something cool to know.
I made a druid because I wanted to get 20 plat every time I gave somebody Sal off in the main spot. I swear that's exactly why I made it.
In East Common Land, donations.
What was that main area that you go to all the different stones? What was it called?
Oh, that was Nexus.
Well, no, not Nexus.
Plane of Knowledge.
Plane of Knowledge, yeah. Plane of Knowledge.
Yeah, Plane of Knowledge, that's right. Yeah.
You sit at Plane of Knowledge and get people Sal, and then you get 20 plat as a tip.
Such a selfless reason to make a character.
That's exactly why I made it. Like, man, I'm tired of giving everybody else 20. I want to make 20.
It's interesting that you mentioned Plane of Knowledge, because that totally changed the game.
Yeah.
Before
it made it smaller.
You had to run everywhere.
Sit off in the cave.
You had to, or get a teleport from a wizard or a druid. And I think it turned a lot of people off to the game. When you talk about running from Freeport to, what was it, Kithakor Woods, going across both common lands.
Taking a boat across the ocean to Kunark.
Takes a day to get there. You just have to, I can't play tonight. I'm trapped.
You're really talking about like 30 to 45 minutes of real time just traveling in a game where you get nothing from it other than arriving at the destination. I still read the EverQuest page on Reddit, and the other night somebody had posted a symphony performance of the music that played on that boat.
Yes,
and it was like a blast from the past.
I don't even remember,
because all you could do was like sit on the deck and just chat with your buddies while this virtual boat is. Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this too, because y'all are talking about days, and I know that in some games, certain things only come out at night or only that day. How were the day phases in this game? Like, were they real-time days, or were they a game standard day?
Oh, no, it's definitely sped up from... They're not real-time days. I don't know what the actual, like, percentage is of what a game day is to a real day. I used to know that, but...
It's something like 10 minutes is an EverQuest hour.
Yeah, something like that.
It's obscure, but it's consistent. Right. You can make plans based on it.
Yeah.
You're talking about people being a-holes in the game. I had to do this one time with my rogue, which is awesome. I was just playing the rogue character, you know. And so LP, there's a rogue. So I was the rogue, and he was a hunter. And that was a lot of fun back in Fell Omen. We had, you know, you and Trip and Fizzgit. And I think the shamans was Lachlani, I think.
Lachlani, yeah. And Siri the Druid, before Siri the iPhone existed.
Oh yeah, Siri the Druid.
She was Gimmel's wife.
And then that was a lot of fun. We had a good group. And but me and LP would just kind of go. I mean, this was the beauty of the game. I mean, it really was that you could kind of just say, we're kind of bored. Let's go figure this out. So we need to make some money. So where do you go back in the day if you're just two mid-level characters? I don't even remember the name of the place it was, but it's wherever the hill giants were. So you go there and kill those, and you're supposed to get like 20 platter.
Wrath Mountains.
Yeah, Wrath Mountains. And so he'd go post up on a broken down castle right in the middle of the hill where that little area was and just do his tracking. And then he would tell me where one is. I would just be facing and say, okay, I face the same direction as him. And say, okay, one's west, northwest, west. You know how that tracking keeps telling you which direction. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a rogue and just stand by one as the dude's killing it and just jacking all the stuff that the hill giant has and running off. Or when he kills it, there's, you know, the guy that kills it gets nothing. But I stole it all. And so what can they do? They're just screaming, stop it. But like, what is the GM going to? So they were telling on me and stuff to the GMs, and like they would come back, and I'm like, I'm a rogue, man. You know, that's just kind of what I do. I steal. And I was asking, like, Does that really come out of their pockets? Is it programmed to like, drop? Does the loot spawn as they die? And he's like, he had some smart answer like, well, of course giants have something in their pockets. What do you mean when they die? I'm like, dude, come on, man. I'm talking to a GM, But so instead of people reporting me, I got tired of people reporting me, and then I would just run by it real quick, like I was going somewhere else, and scoop, do one little pickpocket and keep going. It was so much fun, man. I love that. Then I'd go hand all the stuff to him, zone my druid in, teleport him to the Nexus, or and then head back. It was awesome.
Well, talking about the loot, I can already answer that question because I remember even way back in the beginning of EverQuest, there was a couple of monsters that, loot's random, but if they had the item you needed, they would be holding it in their hand. So that tells me that it has to be pre-programmed.
That's true.
But I've never heard a story like that before. But that's perfect, like role playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you do. You just steal it. And we made, I get my druid, and then I would go cast strength on him or whatever, so he could walk, and then we'd go back because he can't teleport the druid. But we had it all planned out, man. We sit there and came up with it, and we'd make 150 plat or something in a few minutes. And go to the pub. But,
that's another thing I learned the hard way on EverQuest. You get drunk, and the screen starts going woo, woo, just like a real, and you can't function.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because in some of the later content, they've actually brought that alcohol tolerance skill into some of the quests. Like there are quests that require you to get to a certain level of drunkenness and start fishing while you're drunk to complete the quest item. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
I wish they would have found a way to implement the languages.
They have done that too. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So there is a...
And Alaris, I think it was, the expansion, you couldn't even get the spells without learning the language.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are there's some items, the charm items, that it's a special item that it gains its stats based on a certain number of things that you've done. So, for example, if you've gotten a certain number of achievements in an expansion, your charm is more powerful. And there are some that the more you max all your languages, it's more powerful. So they bring in these little things to keep you doing all these random little, skills that they have in the game. So, yeah.
But between that and trade skilling, that was how we used to geek out in our downtime. Is we would just sit there and like spam talk to each other in different languages to level our skills up.
Yeah.
And you sit there by the Fletcher and keep making arrows, or we would even jump in the water and just stay there while we went to bed at night to level up our skills.
Yeah, put an auto run like in a circle or something.
We were so like devoted to this game. It was like it almost got more important than real life.
I had to jump in, and that's funny you say that, but I mean, so I'll jump to that in a second. But I jumped in. We had to swim across we're going to some quest, and dude, you'd have thought I was like shouted out some massive hate or something about EverQuest when my swim was like 80, and everybody was taking off and leaving me, and they're like, "Dude, get your swim up, dude. What are you doing?" I was like, "What? When do I swim? Put it overnight." Auto swim. They're like, it's the stupidest thing. You don't have it done. Like, God, I'm sorry, guys.
Well, if you were a cleric working on your epic, there was an island that you had to swim to in the largest zone in the game, the Ocean of Tears. So you got your swimming skill up real quick. I just remember it would take me, I don't know, half an hour to swim to this place. So
was that Timorous Deep?
Yeah, that was Timorous Deep, right? Not Ocean of Tears. Yeah, that's right.
No, Ocean of Tears is the ocean that Timorous Deep is
right,
in,
right.
I think.
Yeah.
It was before you.
And then there was a dragon in the water that would
kill
you. That was like for the Druid epic. That thing got me so many times.
I hated that. So the Druid epic, but you were talking about real quick the just kind of became like real life. I mean, it really was. I was at Full Sail at the time when I quit playing this, and LP had quit playing it at one point because he called me up and he's like, "Man," I said, "Hey, did you sell anything at the bazaar?" And he's like, "Nah, I didn't sell anything. I had my big seller. I came in and some dude just cut my throat on it, like just cut him in half. He's like, it's just like we're talking something big here, man." And so he he worked it with Carter, and he was on the tractor all day, and he's like, man, I've been thinking about this game all day long. That's all I can do, you know. So he started seeing it get to him. So he gave me all of his stuff, and he's like, man, he didn't want to either. He's just like, well, whatever, it's gonna help me get off of it. So he did, and he got off the game. But like I said, I was at Full Sail, and I remember you talk about and this is another thing that they don't implement. It's kind of like the AA in other games, but your ultimate weapon or epic weapon, it would take weeks. I mean, it would take a long time to do a quest that's massive. That is sick. I love that. But I mean, I had printouts, you know, and all this. And then I remember going, dude, I'm spending more time researching a game than I am actually at life doing something, you know, productive.
Subscribing to Alakazam.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to get their ads.
And so, yeah, I remember that. I remember I had, you know, documents on documents, and I'm researching all this, and I'm like, what am I really doing here, you know? And that's when I quit playing. I was like, this is getting out of hand here.
Yeah.
That's why it goes back to what I said on y'all's first podcast about the people, like the pioneers, the people that did that epic quest before, the people that went and chatted with the vendors and got the dialogue and got the drops. I mean, it's almost like a skill that's totally outside of the people that go 30-1 in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You have to have some serious devotion to
do.
go through and do that, to camp a spawn when you don't know the spawn time, you don't know the placeholder. It's just, maybe they all like talk to each other behind the scenes or something.
Somebody knows somebody, but there are people that do that. And some people, in fact, I mean, Edgy, you're kind of one of those people when it comes to Destiny. That's how we all met. You guys
gosh, you brought it up.
I mean, it is because I know, but
I didn't.
You guys like going to the newest raids and trying to figure it out. Me, I'm the opposite. I let you guys figure it out, and then y'all just drag me through this thing. And I just want to get the rewards that y'all pass up.
There's a certain point when if it just hasn't gotten anywhere, we'll look it up. But it's that kind of blind going into a place and seeing it for the first time, you know, starting the encounter and seeing what happens and trying to figure out the puzzle initially is fun. But yeah, we're not gonna be that person that tries to figure it out from scratch every single time. And we actually have been successful a couple of times in figuring it out and actually knowing what to do. And we'll say, you know, we'll call it quits for a night and say, okay, we know how it works now, and then come back and beat it the next night. So that's always really fun. But yeah, we're not going to beat our heads against a wall trying to blindly figure it out. So, but yeah, it's always amazing when people can, you know, finish a brand new raid in like 4 hours, just knowing how to do it.
Usually it's something like the guy has like total resistance against some element or something, or maybe he has a damage shield on, and you see when you're hitting him, you're losing hit points. You just stop doing it. But the culture is so skewed now toward, I'm just going to get the best equipment I can. I'm going to run up to everything and I'm going to attack it. And then, you know, I told you last night, Marcus, that camera on Monster Hunter was pissing me off. Because I'm used to the camera focusing on the enemy for me. And it's just, it's another element of difficulty. And, but, you know, I'm getting better at it. It's just.
You brought that good point up, too, though, in that text, too. And it really is something just this simple, but it's true. Attack is triangle and circle. The two buttons furthest away from the center of the controller.
No, that's weird.
Not furthest away, but, you know, like, why wouldn't it be? Attack's the whole point you play a game. Is to beat something down. It needs to be X and square. and then item use is something that you got to go out of your way for because you don't do it all the time. You know, I mean, that really is a simple mechanic that, I mean, I guess you can change it in Monster Hunter however you want. There's a lot of customization you can do that we didn't even scratch the surface on, but you know, something that's simple, but I don't want to get derailed, but that's certain things in games certain rules you just don't break.
Well, I got something that'll bring us all back into the EverQuest discussion that I want to ask, because I want to know this from y'all too. Is, you know, you're talking about these quests, going out and do these quests for this long, extended amount of time for this one piece, one item, one weapon, one piece of armor, whatever. What was the one piece of armor or weapon or whatever that you just really just, you know, beat the game up over? You played it forever to get that one piece of whatever. What was that for y'all, and what did y'all do to get that?
let me tell 2 stories real quick since mine's going to be short because I don't have the knowledge that these 2 got. But they had epic weapons, and then they started having epic weapons part 2. And you're like, man, I'm not doing that. But then you look, this is what they did to kind of reel you in. Then you look at the weapon, you're like, whoa, look at these stats. This is absolutely ridiculous. I got to get this weapon. And I was a druid I never got my druid weapon, but it looked cool. It was a sword. It had like leaves and stuff floating around it. And you just knew when you saw it, this guy's got this epic weapon. It looks sick. And it's perfect for a druid. I think it had mana deal where your mana recharges faster too. But you had to kill the corrupt catfish. And dude, I knew the place. I mean, I remember this very clearly. That's just a testament to what it is.
Corrupt catfish.
Yeah, you got to find the corrupt one in this lake. And so you can look online, and again, you had to list, yay thick of just documents on how to figure this out. And I knew the placeholder, like Mitch was talking about earlier. And dude, I killed this thing so many times. Not the corrupt catfish, the placeholder, over and over. So many times that I was like, this has got to be wrong. Because, I mean, I was hours sitting there killing this thing. And then it finally spawned, and you're just like, oh my gosh, if that's him, that's the guy. And I attacked this thing. It jumped out of the water and started just coming at me vicious, dude, and beating me down. I had to start, because you're killing all these catfish. It's just like, okay, if I can't root, and then I chant, what was it, conflagration or something like that. A couple, you knew the pattern, bloom, bloom, bloom. And this thing just came out charging. It did not have the same pattern. You had to learn it on the fly. And you've been sitting there for hours, killing the same thing. And if it kills you, I mean, you got to hope nobody else goes in there and kills it and gets their little piece off of it.
If you played now, I'd probably summon you.
Then I had the Rage Bringer for the Rogue, which was super sick. It had haste on it, like a 40% haste. And haste is like the best thing you can get. And just a quick story about that. LP had the Ranger, like I was saying, and we always would duel. Because I convinced him that if I challenged him to duel at any time, everybody within the zone sees that I challenged him at the duel. If he don't accept it, he's a little punk, So I said, if I challenge, so we'd all be sitting around talking to these randoms. And I would just challenge him in the middle of just like, dude, now I got to do something about it because I look like a punk. And I was like, yep. So he said, all right, let's do a duel, man, but no spells, no poisons. I said, all right, no problem, no poisons. So I started beating on him, and I just got this real weak weapon in my offhand it had poison automatically on it. So I didn't put poison on there, and I'd hit him and it'd spin him around. And he said, man, you spun me around, and that Rage Bringer was just tearing me up in my back. And I saw his little character. It was a big battle, and Fell Omen was all on. I remember announcing what we were going to do. And then he ran off, and I saw his hands try to light up because he's trying to chant a spell. And he's just like, dude, what happened? We were the same level and everything. He's like, what happened to your guy, man? I was just like, Rage Bringer, dude. Those epics were game changing. They need to have that in every game.
Yeah, I really wish they would bring out an Epic 3.0, sort of. As much time as I spent getting the 1.0, the 1.5, and the 2.0, especially for a cleric, the 1.0 was your res stick. So you didn't have to memorize a spell to be able to res people. Now there's an AA for that. But there
Are
were...
those epics still good? Are they still good?
I use my 2.0 so much now in raids.
The click on the shield.
Yeah, the click on the shield. I use it all the time. The clerics actually got really lucky at the 2.0. We were the only ones that got a shield. Everyone else got a weapon. So we could wear our 1.0 and our 2.0 at the same time, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I spent a lot of time, my 1.0, camping stuff underwater. There's one time I was in Nagaffin's lair, and I was camping this goblin, Lord Gimblox. And I was camping him for like a week straight, every day for hours and hours. He's on a 19-minute, remember this, 19-minute spawn timer. Sit there, kill his placeholder over and over and over. And it happened to be the one time that I get up to go to the bathroom that someone comes in and he spawns and someone KS's me and gets the item. And I was like, are you kidding me? But luckily some friends came in later and helped me like clear the whole zone, and he spawned. But yeah, it was just that was crazy. And then the 2.0 was a little bit different because even in years later when this came out, you needed a full raid to be able to do them. And I wasn't in a raiding guild, so it was unheard of for someone that wasn't in a raiding guild to get these items. So I would just organize these giant pickup raids and get people from all over the servers, say, hey, you guys can random the loot when we're done. We're just going to get these done. And I would not give up on it until, I got those raids done to get that item for the shield. But for the cleric, that was the main big item that I wanted. There were a couple other little things like the flowing black silk sash and the fungus covered scale tunic and all those other rare items that weren't as important for clerics, but you still wanted them because you could sell them for a lot. But there are tons and tons of items that were they're still pretty nostalgic to this day.
So did you ever play WoW?
No, I never did. So that came out in 2005, and I was still playing EQ. I remember all the EQ players kind of, it was kind of a rivalry there for a while. WoW was just, it took EQ, that whole play style to the next level, but no, I never did play it.
What about EverQuest 2?
I tried to play EverQuest 2, and I just never really got into it. It was a totally different feel to me. And it's kind of ironic because I felt like the game kind of held your hand too much, and I like that EverQuest, like having to go and figure things out and not having, exclamation points over NPCs' heads, who you're supposed to go talk to. So I never really got into EQ2. So
that's the exact same story I had.
Yeah, so you tried to get into it too, didn't you?
I was just say, Coach looks like he's chomping at the bit to say something there for a minute.
Well, it's just. It doesn't even feel like a true sequel.
Yeah, is it even going on now, EverQuest 2, still?
I think so.
That's kind of as big as EverQuest, I'm sure.
The guy, Brad McQuaid, that made EverQuest is actually developing a new game right now. And if you look it up, it has a very EverQuesty feel to it. The name slips my mind right now.
You said it on the Dragon Warrior podcast.
He was the guy behind Vanguard, and it just flopped.
Yeah, I was excited about Vanguard when it was coming out, and I know people were really disappointed with it.
But he is obviously, it's his brainchild. But I remember the Warrior Epic. There was an item that dropped in the plane of sky, and the mob that dropped it death touched. But it pretty much means that no matter what you have, he killed you with one hit. So you pretty much have to take yourself up there and have somebody eat the death touch, and then you continue to kill him, with who's left. And I had my 2.0 before I ever went back and finished my 1.0. It was more just the warrior looks like two lightsabers, a blue and a red one, and you can combine it into one. But as far as by the time you get it, you probably have something better.
Yeah.
But the item for me that I remember devoting the most time to, all those items you mentioned were from like Sevalus and Gulk. I remember it was like the tunic, Lamentation was a sword that dropped there. And I had two of those.
The Lammy.
I looked like, I looked like, I loved the way my character looked, having two identical ninja swords. And, but at this point I was like you, I still wasn't in a raiding guild. So I had kind of hit a roadblock, and I wanted to join this German guild. This is after I moved to I moved to the server to join this German guild. But to be a warrior in a raid, you have to have some type of weapon that will hold aggro. And the best one at the time was, what was it called? Blade of Carnage. It dropped from the Avatar of War in Velius, which happened to be a raid mob, but this was a droppable item. But it sold in the bazaar for like 300,000 plat. So rather than try to kill the mob that dropped it, I would just do like what you were talking about, camp the tunic, camp the FBSS, things I knew I could sell. And I raised the money to buy this, pivotal item I needed. And then when I got it, they took me into the deal.
But now you're
broke. Being a little entrepreneur there trying to get all the money to raise the money to get that. That's a smart move when you have to be a solo player.
But the funny thing about it is that several raids into the guild, a better weapon was rotten. So I just got to loot it and have a better weapon.
That's what I like.
That's how it goes.
The whole culture now is for the the damage to be greater than the delay. Like a bad weapon will be like 25-20. But back in the day, we were talking like 9-19.
Right.
10-25 was a good weapon. It's not, it hasn't gotten to the EQ2 wow dumbing down state, but I think they call it mudflation in the community, where that a form of development is just to keep letting the players do more damage to mobs that have more hit points. You just go back to the old content and you can solo raid mobs.
Well, one thing that's unique to EverQuest that I remember is that, and they may have taken it out, and I need you guys to tell me, but no other game has done this either. EverQuest is actually a pretty great game for an MMO because it's just so massive. You can really get lost in it. And when you come back to it, you are lost. I tried to get back into it. I have no idea what's going on, so I just quit. But, you used to before they were trying to figure this whole thing out, the economy. And at one point, like a plat was more valuable than a Japanese yen at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's just, so they got several different currencies. You got, methods of currency. You got bronze or copper, silver. So 100 copper equals 1 silver, 100 silver equals 1 gold, 100 gold equals 1 plat. So people would just destroy their silver and copper because it just would weigh them down. You had weight that you had to maintain so you could run around. But you used to I can't remember the name for it now, when you started a brand new character and he's kind of buffed up because of all the good gear he has. So he's getting power leveled kind of. I thought there was a name for it, but there was no level requirements for weapons and armor and stuff at first. Remember, because EverQuest is like one of the first ones. We got Ultima Online, but and I'm sure there may have been a couple others, but EverQuest is one of the first ones. So you could start a brand new character if you already have a level 60 or whatever it was back then, 50, and give him all your good gear, and now you got a brand new level 1 with.
Is twink the word you're looking for?
Twink, yeah.
That's why Fungi Tunic is so valuable, because you can still give it to a level 1.
But they made it now to where is it everything still now have level requirements, or did they change that? Or no drop? They didn't have no drop.
So yeah, the answer to that is kind of twofold. So most of the set gear has a level requirement that's it's relevant to the levels in the expansion. So for example, my stuff now will be required level 106. Recommended level 110 or whatever. So it's like that for every expansion. It's also not tradable, so it's no drop. So you can't even trade it. What they've done recently, though, is in the newer 2 expansions, is there are droppable items that are a little bit better than raid gear. These are non-visible items, so your jewelry, your belts, and stuff like that. And they drop I don't know what the drop rate is. Let's just say 1 in a million. I've seen them drop, I think, total of 3 times ever now.
Jeez, 1 in a million.
And they sell for millions of platinum.
Wow.
So there's been a little bit of controversy around it. People saying, oh, well, you can just get a raid caliber character now for nothing. But no, this stuff does not drop often at all. So you don't see it around very much. So yeah, but that stuff still has the required level. I think it's 105. So you can't really twink a character nowadays, to answer your question simply. But there is stuff that you can do.
But you see the merit behind that back in the day, because they didn't know, or they didn't even think about that. People do
exactly.
That. And then the no drop items, that kind of messed up the economy, and that's probably what inflated the plat so much.
Yeah.
Because you'd have, if you just already had a level. So you kind of see how it folds out. If you got a level 60 already and he's got good gear, he sells it for what he doesn't need, gets something that he needs for, like, say, a monk, starts a brand new monk. So he just bought the in-game gear from somebody else, because there was no such thing as no drop or level requirements at that time. That's something World of Warcraft came out with.
It's interesting you mentioned weight and currency. EverQuest was one of the first games to where if you had enough stuff in your bag, you just couldn't move.
Yeah.
And eventually, they came the weight reduction bags, which there used to be only a few of those. You could get like the bag of Evil Eye. I think it was a light burlap sack. Mm-hmm. And these drop from like hard mobs to reduce your weight by 15%.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't even matter anymore. Because everything's weight reduction, and it automatically converts it automatically converts your copper up to platinum. And it used to be where you had to run across the world to a bank to convert your copper and silver and stuff. And now, I mean, that it's not really even worth anything anymore. Especially if you go to a vendor now, instead of saying, this item is 10 platinum, 2 silver, 3 gold, whatever, it says 10 point whatever platinum, because the other stuff just doesn't even matter at this point. So yeah, like you said, everything's become so inflated. And if I had to list off the top of my head the things you need to buy with platinum, it's very limited. I mean, maybe like some stat food and drinks and player made items. There's just not a whole lot of stuff to buy platinum
mercenary rent.
Yeah, exactly. The mercenary upkeep cost. But yeah, I mean,
that's something new.
Yeah, the economy is definitely very, very different.
So what was the expansion after Planes of Power?
Luckland?
Gates of Discord.
Oh, after Planes of Power, yeah. Gates of Discord.
That was the one that drove half of EverQuest's player base out.
That drove me in further.
Because it wasn't like fantasy, it was alien.
No, okay, so which one had the adventures where you could go on adventures?
Lost Dungeons of Norath.
That's the
one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's when they first introduced instances. Yeah, the moon is where aliens came in.
Yeah, I didn't get one with aliens.
Yeah.
LDON is the one that was their cry to the community to not leave after Gates of Discord, because it was so hard. By the time Gates of Discord, the expansion following it, people still hadn't beat it because it was so hard. It was so overtuned because everybody was coming out of Planes of Power, really well geared up, and they overdid it with.
So I'd mentioned this before, but I bought the gold 10. It had all the way up to Planes of Power. And I don't remember anything about moons or aliens, so I missed some expansions. That's what's kind of good about it. So you just didn't have I didn't have that expansion with aliens. I had Gates of Discord because I remember those adventures. And I love those because you could be a solo player and just go on these adventures and get these adventure points or something to where you could buy the gear.
You're talking about Lost Dungeons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gates of Discord was almost was all raids. Like there was no group game.
Okay.
Everybody burned out on it.
There was one like chainmail piece or something. I'm just trying to thinking here. But there's one chainmail chess piece that was a ton of points, and they had something happen where it was I don't know. I'm just making a number up. 1,500 points. Let's just say, and at some point I went there and checked with the vendor, and it was like 150 instead, and I bought it. And I was like, dude, what's going on? Like the next day it was patched back. I guess that was a glitch or something that they didn't realize, but I got it right in that little window. And it had like 3, that's when they started introducing like jewel slots or something you could have in your armor.
Augments.
Yeah. And so
that was the one good thing that came from Gates of Discord.
Well, that's what I got.
The augments.
Whatever it was with his
No, you're talking. You could buy the augments with your points from the adventures in LDON, but just the concept of augments came from
I see.
Gates of Discord. And the only reason I remember that was because there was a terrible quest called Breakdown in Communication that was
it sounds terrible.
It was like 10 times Epic Quest, but the end result was an augment. And the augments, would go into your pieces of armor, but it was like Edgy was saying earlier, augments can almost make the night and day difference between a character now like AAs do. Because just imagine you have, 20 pieces of gear, 100 hit point augment in every one of those gears is 20,000 hit points.
2,000 probably.
Very
Are you familiar with the purity system now too, and heroic stats? It gets even deeper. It's crazy. I remember when augments came out, it was mind blowing. I was like, okay, this is going way too far now. I can't handle this with these little items going in items. This is weird. Like now that's not even anything. Now you have all these extra stats. Yeah, the power sources and heroic stats. It adds a whole new level of complexity there. It definitely sets your character apart.
The last thing that.
Yeah. I was sitting here listening to this, And I'm like, oh man, this all sounds cool and everything, but it all sounds like German to me.
Oh yeah, no,
It all sounds like German.
You said we would geek out, so we are geeking out.
I want you to, but for our listeners out there, we might have some listeners out there that don't know EverQuest and are listening to this to try to figure out if they want to play it
anymore.
Well, they're probably not listening.
We'll get back to the basics.
That might not be, but let's hope they are. And so if they're still listening, and for me too, me being a person that's the outside looking in, what would you tell somebody like me to get me to play the game?
You almost have to have a support community now. Like you could bring in a new character into a group of friends, that are pretty much current on the content, or bring them into a guild. And to start out at level 85 is just night and day from starting out at level 1 back then, because nobody wants to go back and babysit somebody in a zone where they get no experience. But
they do that on WoW too, where if you sign back up, you get 100 and I don't know what the 110 level character, but you start off as a mage with all the spells and everything. You have no idea how to play the guy. You got to go experiment, so it takes just about as much time almost.
You need guidance.
Yeah, I mean it's
more than anything.
It's still a little bit of a skill based game. It's not just I got my stuff now, so I'm a good mage or I'm a good wizard or whatever. You still got to know how to play your character.
Yeah, I'll say this because I've actually been doing this recently with a returning player. We started him at level 1, and I have been with him in those low level zones, just pulling like the whole zone for him to be able to level up and stuff. But what I'll tell people is don't be anxious when coming into this game with this huge learning curve. Just jump in, and the more you play it, the more things will become familiar to you. And I mean, there are, I think, still 30 to 40,000 active subscribers in the game. Server population is in the server population's in the thousands on the servers. I think I looked up the number of 106 to 110 characters just on my server, and it's like 8,000. So, I mean, the people are there, and there are people. I'm the type of person where I love to just sit down with someone and teach them how to play a class. And, cleric is my expertise. That's the one I know best, but I know the basics of everything else. And it's fun. You just have to dive in and you don't want to take it slow and just, because it will take a while. The grind to get to the top does still take a while. So if you just jump in there and let people have fun with you, it becomes that much more fun. And the people are there to help you to do that too.
That's great what you said about starting them off at the beginning, because each class has a unique skill. Like clerics are healing, enchanters are mesmerizing, monks are pulling, but everything is all relative. Like a level 1 cleric healing level 1 warrior is the same thing as a maxed out cleric healing on a raid. You're looking at a hit bar depleting, and the casting time of your spell, and you know what I'm saying? It's just a skill. You level up, you get a better version of the same spell, but it's you have to learn the basics first.
Yeah, and there's no pressure jumping in to be the best character out there. You get in there and like I said, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but no one's expecting you to go on every single raid. No one's expecting you to be able to, as a tank, to tank the highest level stuff. But if you can get in a group and just have fun and see the dynamics of the game and the mechanics of it, you can just sit there and hang out with people, and before you know it, you've gotten like 10 levels. And you're learning as you go. So it is a little bit mind-blowing when you step in there at first. But every time you realize there's some skill there that you didn't even know you had, and now you can use this and you're that much more powerful, it's pretty awesome. And then just getting in and seeing how big the game is. It's still probably the biggest game of its type that's out there, and so much stuff to do. I will say, for anyone that is considering maybe trying the game out, they have an achievement system now. They've had it for, 10 years now. So that kind of guides you through it. And it doesn't hold your hand. You still have to, ask about things and figure things out a little bit. But, there are systems in place to help you get started. So.
Do they have maps, and something this simple, but maps in the game built in now?
They do, and they're actually player developed. So
What's those add-ons?
yeah, they're, I mean, you download them and they go into your maps file, but they're player developed, so, and they're done really, really well. It's not like a radar system or anything of that nature, but it's still there.
You don't get some little gold path to tell me where to go.
Actually, yeah.
That's what I need.
Yeah, they do have that now. So
learned.
You can control find players and find NPCs. Obviously not like the mobs, but you can, yeah, it'll lead you there.
That was the biggest thing for me that hurt me the most. And Trip and these guys that played that are friends from back home will tell you that I got pissed off so many times because I'm trying to find one guy, or it says, oh, go to the library in Platinum Knowledge or something. Mm-hmm. You're like, where's the library? There's not a sign or anything that says library. If this was real, it would have a sign that tells me where to go. This is not trying to be good. So, but then you go to a zone, like, you'll ask, and nobody, I always felt kind of bad about, they're all doing their thing, and I'm trying to level up. And there was don't get me wrong, they were a real good guild, and they really helped out a lot. But you're like, hey, I'm level 63. Where do I need to go to level up? And you're like, oh, you got to go to Plains of Power, one of these, whatever ones that was that you need to go to. And then you go there, and then you're in the zone, and you shout out, hey, 63 row looking for group. And it's like, oh, come to the Northwest Junction. And you're like, what is that?
Come to Giant 3.
Yeah, you're like, names. What is that? Because it's hard enough to get a group, and then you got to be, man, I don't know where that is, dude. And they're like, never mind, don't even show up if you can't even know where this is. Seriously, you're like, well, we don't want you. And most people, it just depends on you. You're rolling a dice again because most people will try to help you out, but there are those few that are like, well, we need a DPS that's going to know what we're doing, because they're trying to, because you affect that group if you go in there as an inexperienced rogue, which you just kind of demonstrated, even though you're not, you just don't know where that is. But now they got the
unspoken rules like that all throughout the game that you're supposed to know. What you said earlier made me think about, I read an article years ago about the downtime built into EverQuest is what made the community. Like, initially, you would be in a camp, say there's 4 orcs, you'd pull the orcs one at a time, then everybody sits down. They wait, 20 minutes for the respawn. There's nothing to do but talk to each other, and the raids, there's so much prep work in between each raid encounter that you just chill out and you talk to each other. And now games are like, everything is so sped up. There's just no downtime anymore because that's what people want. But EverQuest, you had no choice but to sit down and do nothing for 20 minutes for however many years. We printed out those maps. I inherited them from Trip and Wally, but they would just go on to Netscape and look them up and print them out. And you got a binder of the maps, and you knew to run along the zone wall, because you couldn't go any further. If you were going through Kithcore Woods at night, you hugged that zone wall.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Just hug the zone wall. In the first left, you can leave. You're like, oh yeah, there it
is. It's just so much useless knowledge now.
I worked at that when I was going through. I went to Full Sail, came back home, and then I didn't have my bachelor's yet, so I had to finish that up. So I had about 1 semester left. But I had to wait till summer school to start, because I got back from Full Sail like in February or March. So I worked at Catfish, one of my buddies, a business that he opened up. He needed somebody to help him. So I was like, yeah, I'll help you. But man, you're in a transition period in life. I was in Forest, living with my mom and dad. And then get done with Catfish 1, and I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm going to take my laptop, I'm going to go over to Trips, dude. And we would just sit there till 4 or 5 in the morning doing something, because that's kind of who I depended on for Quest and just anything cool. Like, man, where are we going tonight? You just tell me where we're going, and I'm coming along as the rogue. And like, oh, am I going to get anything good out of this? Yeah, there's a chance that this thing drops. Like, cool, I'm with you, And we just would go along. I had no idea where we were going or what we were doing. And I was just kind of tagging along with this group. And I don't know how long I played. Do you remember? It was probably played for 2 years, 3 years maybe.
Yeah, it was a couple of years.
Yeah, and so, but as you were saying, it is massive. There is always something to do. But for me, when I got back in, if you do not have a guild that's willing to help you and you're going to get so overwhelmed. You're probably going to be like, man, I have no idea where I'm even going. And some people think that they would like that, and they may, because there's every single thing has a drinking. You get your alcohol tolerance up. Making potions, languages. There's several dozen different languages to learn. Sewing or tailoring, blacksmith, the whole thing. And it's just, at that point, you're just cool to have, I like doing poison making. It's just unique to the rogue. But, you put poisons on your guy and you go in there and do some damage or something. One thing I do like about EverQuest that I really remembered is that if there's a critical hit, and this was back in the day, of course, if there's a critical hit, everybody sees it. And EverQuest is brilliant. I mean, it really is.
That loud sound.
Well, no, that it pops up, Locky hit for 2,500 and it's in parentheses.
That was before everybody started using the chat filters
to not see it. Oh, okay. Well, I thought it was like a force filter,
Yeah,
you gotta see it.
Now you have a third-party software where you parse everyone's DPS, and that's where all the accolades come from. So, yeah, people will post those parses after a big fight, and you see who tops the parse, and I'm just always happy as a cleric if I even get anywhere near the parse, but I need to be healing anyway, so...
But you got the heal part.
Yeah.
More motivation to compete. But it is funny you said that, talking about coming home from work and what are we going to do tonight. I remember when I was living in Clinton, when I was in grad school, and it was a raid for my 1.5. There's an underground fort in... It's somewhere in Cunark, but it was part of a later expansion. And for whatever reason, the item I needed was there. So we scheduled a raid at like midnight. I took a cab home from the dock to go to that raid, and Dre and them, none of them could just fathom how something could be so important to me that I would, go home from a party to do this. And we wound up getting it, but that was how important it was to me at the time.
You lost me at the dock. You lost me at the dock. I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, man, I remember that place all so well.
LP would have this is World of Warcraft, but he had 5,000 gold. And he'd come back in the next day, we start playing. I'm like, dude, how you doing, man? I said, man, my money's gone, man. I'm like, what happened? Man, I got drunk last night. And then I came in and said I need to upgrade my blacksmithing. He didn't care how much it was. He would just buy it all. And I'm like, dude, you got to get that under wraps, dude. That's a little warning sign.
I still do that even in Monster Hunter. I went ahead and crafted that bone armor you were talking about last night, Clear, and it's just like the chainmail I've maxed out is essentially worthless now. But at the time, that was all I knew, and I was dumping all my resources into that. But I guess you have to research it beforehand, but I was too caught up playing the game. But I've got my bone armor up to level 3 now.
You gonna play that edgy?
That could be dangerous for me because I am that type of person that loves the loot grind, as you can already tell. So I know it would take up a lot of my time. I think I would enjoy it. My husband, Kuiper, he's been playing it a little bit. He had a little bit of a tough time getting into it, but I think he really enjoys it now, and he wants me to play.
Playing with the group.
Yeah.
So if you play Monster World Hunter, my advice is until you hit level 11, don't worry about leveling your armor. It's almost no point to level it because the next mission you fight, or the next monster you fight, is going to give you an armor that's one better than that. So don't waste any of your armor spheres or your armor sphere pluses into armor that you get for everything at hunter rank 10 and below.
Okay, check.
So just basically go grab your stuff, get what you want. You level up your weapons, don't level up your armor. Don't worry about leveling your armor.
Yeah, but you get to Andernath and you get slaughtered. You have to, but see, you're going to have. See, I disagree because we got slaughtered 3 times last night 3 people trying to kill this thing. And Clear's a Monster Hunter, what, 10?
I'm 10. 11? I'm hunter rank 10.
Out of what is it? 999.
999.
Why? Okay. Well, yeah. You don't have to get into that, but
that's future proofing. I think is what they call it.
Yeah, basically.
But you got unlimited armor spheres. I mean, you're going to be able to get any little stupid bounty.
You got to do bounties, and you get an armor sphere for
get
it.
Bone armor, and level it up to where. So what it happens is when you get bone armor, you go to level up your bone armor. It takes 1 or 2 spheres to go to the next level. When it starts taking 3 or 4, just go ahead and ease off on that. Just when you get 1 or 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Once you get past the bone armor, that's what you hit. Is that because
you said level 11.
Well, level 10, level 10,
level 5, and I would beat down.
Well, it's only Anjanath. Once you get past Anjanath, it's nothing. Like Anjanath is the first roadblock you hit in that game, but everybody past that is nothing. Like compared to that, somebody that I was playing with, they were like, "Oh, I'm having problems fighting this new thing called Odogaron." Man, I beat Odogaron by myself, soloed him like 10 times before I even played with somebody else, and had full Odogaron set before I went and started helping helping with SOSs. Same way with, I call him the Bony Roly Poly. He's Radoban. He's just a big old dinosaur with bones all over him.
How you remember their names, man?
And so
I don't either. That blew me away last night.
It's real detailed with his game knowledge.
I love this. I love this game, and I'm getting really into this game. So that's why I'm really excited about this.
He knows it.
So, but you just gotta you gotta look at that, and it's probably the same way for EverQuest too. When you're playing some of those lower levels, since you've got those ultimate armor now, it sounds like for y'all, and ultimate stuff. Don't really dump all your time into that. Mm-hmm. Move on and grow up to the bigger things.
I got to tell you one thing about EverQuest, because I kind of want to start talking about Monster Hunter real quick in our last few minutes or whatever, but. So LP, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. So he just got into the game, and so we're like I think I'm level 15, which was monster compared to level 2, and we're running around in East Commons, and I'm like, man, whatever you do, and he called me about this. He still remembers that he called me like before I went to Vegas for that month, probably, so it'd be 2 months ago, and we chopped it up for about 3 hours. He's still in Japan. But anyway, he goes, man, you remember we were walking around in East Commons? And I'm like, yeah, they have a hill giant walking around. You just kind of, okay, leave him alone. And so we're running around. I'm saying, man, let me tell you how to play this game, dude. You just go and kill this spider. You get this silk. And silk, you get you get 20 stacks. You can sell it for like, 80 platinum or something. And dude, that was just, you rich at that point. And I said, and so you're running around, and you guys might have some knowledge on this, but there's one little NPC running around named Kendall Gix running around. He's like a dark. I'm just dying out laughing. If LP's listening to this, he is dying out laughing right now. And so I'm like, man, there's Kendall Gix right there. You see him walking, don't even cut. And so he just kind of stops and looks, and he just chases us, and we're running because he will kill you so fast. There's an NPC running around killing newbies. That's his whole purpose, I think. Yep. And so we run off in this cave and hide. And we're like, oh, we're going to stay in here, man. He'll go away. He'll go away, dude. Don't worry about it. And we had the team speak or whatever. We were probably on a cell phone at that time. We step out of the cave, and we peek around the corner, and he's just standing there looking. He's still out there. Go back in. It's hard. And so you had to worry about Kendall Gix. And he called me. He's like, what was that guy's name? I said, I don't know how I remember it. Kendall Gix.
That was one thing EverQuest got wrong was
Kendall Gix.
Line of sight aggro. Like if you pissed something off, it would hunt you down.
Yeah, he would.
Unless you left the zone.
Did either of you ever fight in the Oasis of Mar? Did y'all ever go there? There was a Lockjaw, and then the a-hole players we talked about. They would come in and get a train of specters from the island in the middle of the Oasis and train them around the zone and kill all the level 16s in there and all the time. That was really fun when every zone had that one little hazard in it that you had to watch out for. That was always pretty cool. Giants were always one of those, so that was really fun from back in the day.
You might know, y'all both might know this. One of you guys, like there was one zone that Trip was telling me about. I never got to see these cool zones. Kendall Gix was the height of my little killer in there. But like one zone you go into, and like every 10 minutes or some random person would die in the zone.
Oh, wow. What?
Is that true? You don't remember that? Do you remember that, Mitch? Is that true, or am I just hearing this wrong from back in the day?
It was like a zone-wide emote from whoever the god was in the zone.
Is that before that guy killed him?
I think
Is
you
that
were
in
just
Plane
like,
of
it's not-
Time? Maybe.
I don't know. I just thought I remember hearing like every so often. I don't know the time.
It sounds
frame,
like
but
something
somebody
they would
random
do,
die.
but yes.
It does. It sounds familiar. It sounds like the zone wide chat would see the NPC talking. He would call your name, and then he would summon you, or like summon you, and then
But that's how
leave you
massive
in
this
one
game is. I mean, these guys are still playing this game, and you still don't remember. There's so many different things that you could go back to and remember.
I think it's worth mentioning, as we're starting to wrap it up, that these are real places to us. Like when you say East Common Lands, you might as well say Newton or Lake. It's like even though these are in a fake made up
Waynesboro.
game world, it immediately like I think of a real place that I
like
was
the Matrix,
at
man.
one time.
What is reality?
Well, and to give our listeners an idea of how big this game is, just since you were talking about this game has roughly 25 expansions to it.
Yeah.
Just sitting
Yeah,
here,
I think it's at 23 right now.
It's roughly, it's right around that number. And the last expansion was released on December 12th of 2017. That's pretty awesome. That
Wow,
it goes.
very recent.
Yeah, it's funny when I tell people I play it, they're like, "Are they still making stuff for that game? Like, why do people still play this?" But I mean, it's yearly, if not bi-yearly, that they're putting out expansions for it. So
They've gone to a yearly. If you look like before 2007 and back, it was about twice a year.
Yeah.
After 2007, it was once a year
Right.
from this list here. And then earlier in the podcast, somebody asked, are they still doing stuff for EverQuest 2? They actually had an expansion release in November 28th of 2017. So yes, EverQuest 2 is still alive as well.
How many people are playing that?
EverQuest 2, I think it was half as much as what's playing EQ.
So 15,000?
Roughly 15 to 20,000, I think, is what I saw. It's not half as much as
About
EverQuest.
Destiny 2 on Xbox?
Yeah, about Destiny 2 on Xbox is what you're looking at. And that's what's funny is that's actually almost true because
I know it
of
is.
the loss of players on that. So
I want to get edgy on here another time. I love Destiny 1. It was a fun game. I hate that the story got jacked up in the whole story, but the whole tale behind that whole thing that we've already talked about a million times. But Destiny 2 was not good to me.
yeah,
But I would like. Do you like Destiny 2?
yeah, I still really like it and still play it. I've since the latest EQ came out and it raised the level cap, I've been spending a lot of time on that and not as much time on Destiny. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, and it's had its failures for sure, and I can agree with people on that. I can see what the gripe is, but I may have had a little bit of a different experience than the people that have kind of given up on it thus far.
And that's what I want to do. I want to get you on here at some point and let you guys give a positive spin on this whole thing.
yeah,
Sure.
I'd like to have Edgy and her significant other Kuiper on here and have them, because they have a very much pro look at it, and I'm not knocking them for that, because I think it's great to have the whole liking a game, especially when it's having this turmoil inside of it, but having the whole pro versus con look at it and have a nice discussion over that, because I think that would be a fun discussion.
And likewise, I appreciate the people that are critical of it, because that's the only way that a game can get better. Because if everyone just quits and doesn't say anything, then how is it ever going to get better? So I'm grateful for that input too.
And I'm in a super weird position because I really want to love the game, but I'm having a really hard time loving it. I'm having a hard time loving it. I mean, I've invested. I mean, like you see, if you go onto our Facebook page, I took a picture of my collection there, and on the top you see all my Destiny stuff. I mean, I've strong love for Destiny. It's just like, how in the world can we make this game back to what it was, to the greatness that it was? And I'd really like to have that discussion.
Yeah, let's definitely do that.
What I hate about the most recent Dragon Age they released, I wanted to like it so bad, but
I liked it.
It is.
I thought it was good.
But compared to the first,
I played the first one. That was
three.
it.
The first one and the second one is good, but this one is just like, they knew that they knew when they released it, people would buy it.
But you're not alone in saying that. And I didn't play the second one. I mean, everybody's kind of talking about that on this game. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was a really good. I thought it immersed me really well, and I liked it.
I didn't want to get into the game itself, but I understand what y'all are saying because I don't play Destiny. But when you're so invested in a game that you want to love it, even though it's not lovable in its current state.
You get in love with the lore and the whole universe. But, so, Edgy, do you guys have, you and Kuiper have like a deal where whatever game he gets, you're able to download as well?
Yes.
You got 2 PlayStation 4s
Best
at your house?
thing ever, yes. 2 PlayStation 4s, 2 Xbox Ones.
So you can play Monster Hunter anytime you want to?
Yes, I can. Yeah, so I could, it's already downloaded in the way we do it, so...
H&K, send them.
Yeah, we got an HnK. We made an HnK. We made an HnK squad. Everybody out there listening, if you want to play with us, look me up on PSN, Clearfire. I'll get you in the HnK group. We'll help you out. We'll help you get wherever you want to go in the game. We'll fight things. If you just want to go hunt little bugs, we can go do that. I love playing this game a lot. So what I would love to do is I would love to do a Monster Hunter World primer, not like a review, but just kind of a discussion of how you get started, because it's such a good challenging game, and like Edgy said earlier, her husband Kuiper had a hard time getting into it at first because it's like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming of how much you can do in this game, and there's no direction in it. It's kind of like EverQuest. You just do, Yeah, you've got your quest and everything.
They're giving you the fight buttons in the middle of the fight.
And let me say this real quick too, Clear. I played Monster Hunter, and I still own it, Monster Hunter Ultimate. I believe that's what it's called on Wii U. And I played the S-Class Hunter, so that's like the highest rank, I believe. But you start getting to where your hunt, it would drop you off in a random spot. You don't get your little camp, and it would tell you to kill or capture. It's always kill, actually, two different mobs. So you had 50 minutes to kill 2 different ones. And so I played a lot of that, and I loved it. But just playing with you guys, it's a different world. So if you're playing solo and you're enjoying the game, there's no disadvantage. I don't know how to say it, but with 2 or 3 people playing with you, it's night and day as far as the fun factor. I love playing with you guys more than I do solo, and I play the heck out of it solo. It really
seems like the different weapon types that you roll complement each other.
It's 2 different games to play it solo and with people. It really is, because I've done both. I super enjoy the playing together with people, but the solo gives you such a different challenge. So if you're looking for it both ways, I mean, like I said, come hit us up on we got a HnK squad. You can be a member of 8 squads at one time, and they're all got 50 members plus. You got up to 50 members. So all you need is one. All you need is the HnK squad. But we'll help you out. We'll help you do whatever. I like
what
doing
is it?
that.
HK.
HnK. That's the squad. But you can't go. That's the only bad thing about this is you can't go look up the squad. I have to send you an invite to the squad.
So you got to get a friend's invite in the Facebook, the PlayStation world, PSN world. I got all my little social networks checked up.
Yeah, just hit us up. I mean, you can even hit us up on Facebook, and I'll add you. I'll add you however we need to. But I mean, we'll help you out on that game. Like I said, I really would love to do the Monster Hunter World primer. I think that would be a lot of fun discussion as well too. And we'll do a whole discussion, talk about some basics and everything like that. Also, too, I really want to get Edgy back and Kuiper as well and do a Destiny kind of breakdown again. Just a discussion there with the 2 opposing sides. I think that would be a really fun discussion as well.
Sounds good.
So HnK, we got me, you, Kuiper, Orion,
Oren,
Coach, Oren,
and Coach
and then
is there.
Is Rue coming?
You'll have Ruin.
I think Rue got an invite. I'm not sure. I'm trying to get. So we had a clan from Destiny that we're also bringing into Monster Hunter World, and they're joining in with the HnK as well. So they'll have, we have several groups going on, so that way we have plenty of people to play with, and so we can make sure we can get you in with either a group that's at your level or even people that are above your level that help. But one thing I've found about the Monster Hunter World community is they're extremely helpful. There's 2 Facebook groups that I follow. It's Monster Hunter World PS4 Good Edition, and it's a whole joke behind that. But they're extremely funny and helpful. And then the other one is for North America, whether you're on Xbox or PlayStation 4. It's for North American people only. So either one of those groups, go look them up, join them in. But we got that. One funny thing I will say about Monster Hunter World is if you see somebody with a Japanese name and they have an open session, join it. They will drag you through everything. It's just like they go ballistic. Like these guys, like the Japanese have been playing this game for so long that they love it. And it's crazy. And they are so amazing at what they do in that game. Now, if you're trying to talk to them, you're not going to understand a word they say because they always speak just Japanese. And if you try
their actions speak for themselves.
But man, they will tear up stuff. So when you see a Japanese named person join you, man, just sit back and enjoy the ride because it's usually pretty good.
Are you playing it, Edgy? Are you going to get on?
I'll get on.
Oh, we got her in. Okay.
I'll try it out.
Awesome.
Clear, let me ask you a question before we go. When you join an investigation and join somebody else's game, when the monster dies, does everybody get their own loot in their game?
Yes, you get your own loot.
Because I ran up to it and looted it, and then I started feeling like a.
Well, the thing is with Monster Hunter, you can stop somebody from looting it. Because if you go there, because you can hit each other, which just basically kind of stuns you, but not for as long. You can go there and hit the person constantly and keep them off of it because that's been going around. But you can carve it out. Well, the thing is the carving only gives you 3 extra items on top of your rewards for it.
If you roll with me and Clear, we're capturing.
We're going for captures. The only thing we can't capture is Elder Dragons because they're uncapturable. But we try to capture everything because you get bonus loot and there's no carving at the end, so you don't have to deal with that whole headache of fighting people for that in case something like that happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was attacking that castle last night. I was fighting with an Elder Dragon. You had to shoot cannons and ballista.
Yeah, you're fighting Zora Magdaros. Zora Magdaros is one that you never is one that you don't ever really kill.
What was the name of the guy helping me load the cannon?
I don't remember that dude. That's some crazy NPC there.
First Soldier 1.
But it's a lot of fun. So if you want to play it, come play with us. And I hate to take up our time on the back end of this one, but we'll definitely have a podcast of Monster Hunter World and some other stuff too.
So you asked Edgy, where did you get your name from? I was going to ask you that too.
Random Xbox name generation.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice. That's actually that's pretty awesome.
Yep. So I mean, usually those don't get you anywhere, but I was like, oh, I think I'll go with that. Now it's my license plate on my car is Edgiest, so
nice.
it has fit me. So
yeah. Well, she's kind of like me, but mine's not a generator. I actually created mine. It started with back when I was about 12 with one of my other buddies from growing up. We were big into trying to learn how to hack. And so it's like you had to have your little hacker name. So I came up with the name Clear Mist. But I'm like, I can't spell it like that. I have to add
so you just altered it a little bit.
Different things. And so I was Clear Mist for a little while. Well, then I was like, okay, well, if I'm on a game, Clear Mist doesn't sound like a cool name. Let's do Clear Fire. That sounds cool because, I want to hide and shoot things. Clear Fire. It just makes sense. And so that's how I came up with it. And I've literally had Clear Fire since I was 12 years old. I've used that in everything. I've got my email is that. You go to my Facebook page, you see the Clearfire thing the banner that I created. That's it. It actually played really well when we were playing SOCOM. People laughed about it, but when things happened, they were like, "Oh my gosh, your name fits perfect now." So
you had Soul Garden for a long time, which is pretty cool.
I did have Soul Garden. Yeah,
Soul Garden, like GUARDIN. Yeah. Soul Guardian.
Mine was my AOL screen name in 1995.
Yeah, I was going to tell you about Coaches. Every time Coach, he came from Coach is his real nickname, and so so many times just growing up, we'd play pool or something at Gadrock's house, and every time you beat Coach at it, so the way the pool works, if you're all hanging out drinking or whatever, and you're playing pool, the winner gets to stay on the table. The loser has to go, and whoever has downs or whatever goes next. Well, if you beat Coach, could never stay out of the game. He always has to put some input in. And so, but if you beat
Coach, lose,
Coach,
you get to help the next player.
If you beat Coach, you got an award for beating him. He can show you a trick or something because he wouldn't want to get off the table. So it's like a reward. And then he'd always try to teach you how to shoot the next shot. So Coach stayed around forever. But RX is because you got a doctorate.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a doctor.
It's
Coach.
weird because back then I don't even really know that I was interested in pharmacy. I didn't decide I wanted to be a pharmacist till I got into organic chemistry and realized that I liked it, and I didn't want to be a teacher.
Well, I got my name. Does anybody know where I got my name from?
Not
By
the
the
new
way.
one.
You know what? Christy asked me last night where HolliwoodKole came from, and I had no idea. I think isn't it a Western or something? No. When you learn where it came from, you'll love it. I'm looking at it right now to try to find the exact track out number.
It's a song.
Oh my gosh.
Is it a rap song?
Yep.
The newcomer's gonna get it. Oh gosh.
Dude, you call this out.
All I'm hearing
This
in my
is
head right now
ridiculous.
is Hollywood. I don't
Oh,
know.
no.
Am I close?
I don't know about that. The
give
Hollywood don't really sound right.
me like an era.
They're still playing now.
I'm doing good so far, right? I mean, okay.
Yeah, it's a rap song, but it's not Hollywood. I'm trying to look it up to find you the exact. You ever heard of a little song called Spodioty Dopalicious?
No.
Oh my god. Go look up Outkast. Okay, Outkast. I'm looking up right now. Outkast. I'm trying to figure out the Outkast albums with Spode, because I got it off of LimeWire back in the day.
LimeWire.
That's like Kazaa, wasn't it?
So it's the one. It's Spodioty Dopalicious from Outkast.
I remember that song.
And so he's like, he had the trombones playing, and he just start talking, I don't even know, but he says, man, you just gotta hear it, man. I don't know what to tell it.
So the Hollywood and the
about
Cole come from that song?
Because he says, who else want to F with HolliwoodKole? Because he said,
wow,
you just gotta hear it.
Okay.
You just gotta hear it. You can listen to Spodioty Dopalicious all the way through, because it's real deep, man. That's the one that took me.
I'm gonna start calling you gangsta whenever we're playing Monster Hunter. That's what I'm gonna call you.
But go listen to Outkast Spodioty Dopalicious.
Okay.
And it's a good song too. Yeah, and it's just funny.
I know the song. I love that song.
Outkast.
So I want to make an announcement. While we have been recording this podcast, we have finally hit 500 likes on our Facebook page.
Woohoo!
So props to everybody. We're at 500 likes. Let's keep it moving. But I want to make that announcement. I've been sitting here watching it because I've been watching it. About 3 or 4 people have hit it. And I was so hoping. I watched 499 sit for a good 30 minutes. I was like, please, one more hit so I can announce
that's like
it. And make
camping
it.
a spawn in EverQuest.
I was camping that spot. I was camping that one person to like it. 500 likes, guys. That's a big milestone for us.
Congrats.
And now let's just transfer that over to people listening on the podcast. Follow us on the podcast as well.
What's kind of weird though, the states that listen to us, of all places, Mississippi is number 2 still?
Number 2, yeah, they should be number 2.
And like California's like a big one. They're liking it. I'm glad they like it, man. And then Arkansas and Georgia are like coming up quick, man. California makes up 10% of our listens, which doesn't sound like much, but that's all within the past 2 months. It just blew up.
Well, I think you guys are doing a great thing. But I think y'all are doing a great thing, and I think it's awesome that you can, just talk about old games and new games, and I firmly believe that as gamers, we do it because it's what we love, and it's something that we succeed at, and it's something that we're good at. And that's really healthy for people to do, despite all the negativity around gaming addiction and all this stuff. That's another topic, but I think it's a great thing, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on, Coach. Thank you once again. Hollywood as always,
Enjoyed it.
and I'm Clearfire. I guess we're going to sign off for the night, guys. If you got anything else, hit us up on our Facebook page. You've got our email address. You've got our Twitter feeds. You've got everything. We'll get Edgy's stuff posted up so you can go watch her gaming and follow her as well. So, guys, thank you very much for taking your time out tonight, and thanks for the podcast.
Later.